We've got official numbers for the Cincinnati Bengals rookies, some of whom have signed contracts, and takeaways from rookie minicamp.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bengals fans, and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. Rookie minicamp is in the books, and we're going to spend some time on the Bengals rookie class today. I'm Jake Lisco. He's James Rapine. We're the Locked On Bengals podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, coverage of your team every day. You can subscribe to this podcast on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts, and if you do, that just makes it easier to become an everydayer and check out this show every day, where we will have you covered throughout the offseason leading up to the regular season, which will be here before you know it. You can also become a first listener and join the First Listen Club with the many other Bengals fans who make us their first listen every day. And we appreciate all of you who do already. James, let's get into rookie minicamp. And there are some contracts signed very early in the process for the Bengals to get a first round pick signed. Maybe the earliest that I can remember, Myles Murphy signing his contract on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the earliest, and I think Andre Perota was the one that tweeted it, but it felt like the earliest since the rookie wage scale came into effect. And they didn't get them done early before that. So it's probably the earliest maybe ever that they were able to get it done. And I know we're going to dive into these guys a bit, but I'll say this. You just see Myles Murphy, you're like, oh, certainly looks the part, moves well. And it's not like he was going up against Orlando Brown Jr. or someone like that on Friday, but it was good to see. He certainly looks the part of a first round pick. So it was good to see him get locked up. I had just left the stadium on Friday when that was reported by Tom Pelissero, and then obviously the Bengals have announced it since. So it's good to see them get it done, and good for him.
The rookies were, of course, down in the bubble on Friday, James, and maybe we start there.
Indoor practice facility.
Not a bubble. We're not supposed to call it the bubble. Is that a bad? Did we do a faux pas?
We didn't do anything.
We are the Locked On Bengals podcast, man. You are responsible for what I said.
We didn't do anything. But yes, I was in the indoor practice facility on Friday.
And what were
and it was man, let's look. It was good to see the guys get out there and do some stuff. Are there major takeaways? There aren't major takeaways. So I don't want to hype it up to be something that it wasn't. But let's start with Myles Murphy. He looks like a first-round defensive end. He certainly carried himself like it. He moved like one. And Marion Hobby spent about, I would say, 45 minutes or so with him and talking with him. And you just hope that he can obviously perform like one, but looks the part to me. And just looking here, he also worked with, I'm going to butcher this name, Tatala Pesafia, something like that. Either way, kid out of Arizona State, another rookie, but it was those two guys. So Hobby basically got to pay attention to two guys, one of which was a first rounder, the other an undrafted guy. The point is Myles Murphy got plenty of work in with Marion Hobby, and that's what you like to see. That's the benefit of a rookie minicamp. Even if it is limited and it's not what it once was, Myles Murphy got good work in with his coach. And there are some other takeaways, but I'll get your reaction to that initially.
Yeah, I mean, all the rookies got to meet with the media, of course, right? Like, that's part of the whole thing. But in terms of on-field stuff, what you're just talking about, getting that hands-on work, even if it's only an hour, and the whole rookie mini camp experience is somewhat limited. And that's why I mentioned the meeting with the media in the locker room, because that's the first time in person for these guys to meet with the media for the most part. And a lot of the draft picks spent time with small huddles. I would say relatively small huddles, right, around their lockers in the locker room. But on the Myles Murphy note, just getting a few of those technique pointers right away. You can see it. I think it was a video you posted, James, on Friday.
Yeah.
A long time ago. Hard to remember. But there's a video you posted where you saw Javi giving Myles Murphy some just a couple pointers terms of getting the line in a better way. And so with Murphy and all of his athletic gifts, getting some of that refinement going early, starting to plant that seed early, and obviously they're going to get a lot of work here over the next month as the offseason program continues. But getting a little bit of one-on-one attention makes it a little bit easier to focus for Marion Hobby and get that kind of private session kind of feel, right? And you don't often get that at the NFL level, even if it is only for an hour.
Yep, I totally agree. So it's certainly beneficial there. And then the other guy, and he was on the other side, but I think people know how excited I am that the Bengals added a guy that can contribute in that wide receiver room, even if it is a stacked, deep wide receiver room. Charlie Jones, I think he's this plug and play type dude. You plug and play. And I got to talk to him afterwards. First, let's talk about the field. On the field, he very crisp route runner, good hands, made a really nice catch on the sideline where I don't know how many guys make it, but it was a bad ball, to be quite honest. And he was able to basically make a shoestring grab where he was still able to keep his feet down and in bounds. And I checked the replay to make sure because I was recording at the time. And so you're running on air, but it was good to see. And I think that Joe Burrow is going to like him. It's not going to take long next week this week when they get on that practice field and can start to get to work before Burrow's like, oh yeah, I like this Charlie Jones kid. And I asked him, Jake, about punt returning too, because he was talking about his mindset and all of those things. And the punt returning aspect, he had like the perfect mindset or mentality. And I think it's something fans are really going to embrace. First thing he said was how confident he was. He said, cool, I'm confident back there. But then he talked about his preparation, how he wants to be aggressive, but he doesn't want to be dumb, essentially, and do something dumb back there. And it sounds like cliche, but he did it in college. And he was able to have that balance. And I think you need that balance as a punt returner. And so he's pretty even-keeled. And I know he's older than T. Higgins, by a little bit older than Jamar Chase, but that could benefit him as he tries to compete with Trent Taylor for that starting punt returner job.
Feels like a competition he can win. 4th round pick, gonna make the team, competes with Trent Taylor for a roster spot directly at the wide receiver position. Can return kicks as well, right? Like can do both.
Mm-hmm.
You would think he has a leg up there
kicks
in that competition, right? I mean, 4th round rookie versus a reliable veteran who the Bengals have stuck with for a couple of years, yes, but that's a relatively big investment. Like he's going to make the team, 100%. So where does that leave Trent Taylor? That's a difficult conversation that we probably will need to evaluate in quite a while. But on the topic of rookie minicamp, James, some defensive guys we haven't talked about yet. Can talk about the normal spring observations of how these guys look. Myles Murphy looks like an NFL-ready NFL body to play on the defensive line. I think you can say the same thing for Jordan Battle. We can talk about some of these defensive guys, some of these other picks, and we got rookie numbers to talk about, James. And we should hit on some of the other college free agents, some of the undrafted guys who were in attendance on Friday as well. So we'll continue the conversation on rookie minicamp coming up next.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And right now you need to get in on the action with the conference finals. The NBA conference finals are here. New customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 in bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. There's no better place to wager on all of the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Let's talk about Jordan Battle for a second. I know he's a 3rd round pick. And if you're going to start on defense, I mean, we talked about Myles Murphy. We're skipping DJ Turner. We'll get to DJ Turner. Lots of DJs around, and that was one of the noteworthy things that we'll talk about with DJ Turner and his pretty cool name that probably by now a lot of Bengals fans know about, but we'll get to that. Jordan Battle, man. That guy has the lower body you're looking for in an NFL player. He's not the kind of guy that looks like he's going to get run through. Some powerful looking features in that lower body for Jordan Battle. I mean, NFL strength in the legs, would you say? Looks pretty good to me.
No doubt. It looks like a linebacker. I mean, it's thick. And, you know, when you talk about instant contributors, and you've mentioned this about him, if you're talking about a guy who physically has it, and it certainly looked that way, like size, looked like it moved well during some of these drills, and has the intelligence, that's the part that everyone's raved about, intelligence, intangibles, all of those things. Man, I think he fits really well with what they're trying to do. Obviously comes from an Alabama program that's used to winning, and that's something I talked with him about on Friday, and he's like, yeah, the first thing I thought of was Cincinnati. That's a winning team. That's a winning organization, winning culture. And what a 180 it's been in how quickly it changed, because that was not the case when Jordan Battle was a young player at Alabama. But he stays for 4 years, and you look up, and the Bengals are one of those teams, and he just adds to it. So I agree with you. One of the surprises from Friday to me was Jordan Battle, how thick he was. His trunk, so to speak, it was one of those things like when I first saw Joe Mixon, I felt that way. He was bigger than I expected. When I first saw Jamar Chase's legs, I was like, man, he doesn't look like a receiver. He looks like a running back, legs wise. And so if I had to say Battle, I would say like a thick linebacker. But that doesn't mean he doesn't move well, because he's got those safety traits, and it's not like he runs a 4.8. He ran a 4.55, and obviously has great instincts and plays fast. So, yeah, I would not be shocked if he contributes, no doubt.
And DJ Turner, the Bengals second-round pick, obviously also present. Dan Horde tweeting about the name. A lot of DJs. DJ Reader, DJ Ivy, DJ Turner. Yep. DJ Turner's first name, his given name, is Juan Drago.
Mm-hmm.
Says he expects his teammates to call him Juan Drago or simply Drago, which that's pretty cool, man. I mean, I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast before. John Sheeran was on this back when he was back when the draft happened, when DJ Turner was a pick, and maybe we haven't given this enough attention, but I'm in favor of Drago Turner, cornerback, Cincinnati Bengals. What do you think? I mean, we're talking about nicknames. This is his actual name.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? If he goes with that man might lead the NFL in interceptions. That's the type of name that does that. And yeah, I think. By the way, we mentioned Myles Murphy. Just since we're talking about Drago, congrats to all of Drago. Yeah, let's just start calling him that and not DJ Turner. Even though DJ Turner is a really cool cornerback name, but Drago is unique. Congrats to all the guys for signing and getting their rookie deals done, and shout out to the organization for that. I know we mentioned Myles Murphy, but they're all done, and so I just didn't want to forget that. That said, yeah, I think Drago is best cornerback name in sports. Juan Drago is even better to me. But either way, that's a pretty cool nickname. So, or pretty cool name, not nickname. And so whether he goes by DJ or not, I think that's cool. That said, DJ Reader's DJ Reader, and DJ Ivy, we'll see. We'll see if, he's going to have to make the team first, right? Or stick on the practice squad. So DJ Turner might just end up being DJ Turner. Although I like the idea of a Drago. And by the way, you want to talk about speed, certainly looks the part.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Lou Anarumo. He came up to me, or he called me over at the start of rookie minicamp. And he was like, on draft night, you asked me about DJ's length. And I must have misspoke, because it's not like he has bad length. And he wanted to clarify, like, he's got fine length. And I was like, yeah, I should have said size. And he was like, yeah, you probably should have said size. He's going to be just fine. And he winked at me. So Lou Anarumo, very excited about DJ Turner. I don't even remember asking about length. I'm sure I did. He remembers it more than I do. The draft is a blur. But there you go. Fun little side note.
You got to love those little camp stories. That's why we have you on the ground there, James, here at Locked On Bengals, where our work is joint, and I'm responsible for your work on this show, and you're responsible for
yeah.
It's a throwback. Get it? We're calling back to the...
I get it. You know what I like? Bubble gum.
I don't think I get that one.
Bubble gum. It's a very bad joke.
All right. Let's
you didn't get that?
I still don't get it. No, it's still over my head. I'm getting whooshed.
Bubble gum.
Oh, bubble. Yep. Mm-hmm. Chase Brown, Andre Yosivas. Any quick notes there before we talk about some of these numbers? Brad Robbins, DJ Ivy as well. I was impressed with Brad Robbins' locker room, but I figured we'll talk about the other offensive guys first.
Yeah, let's talk about Chase Brown. Talking about looking the part. Dude looks the part. I mean, quick, thick in the right places, but like lean, like strong, but lean at the same time. And if you see him, you'll know what I mean. Like, it's not like there's any bad weight there. It's he's going to pack a punch. And I think he has the right mindset. And that was my takeaway from really talking to all of them. And I didn't get to talk to every single draft pick, but got to talk with Brad Robbins, Chase Brown, got to talk with DJ Turner, Juan Drago, Charlie Jones. I'm missing one or two. Battle. Talk with Battle too. They all seem to like have, in the rookies, they should be saying the right things, right? But like the right mentality. And I think Brown certainly has that. Chris Evans a few years ago mentioned doing the mixing in that jump cut drill. Well, that's something that Chase Brown mentioned as well. Said he grew up watching, not grew up, but watched Mixon throughout his career, even dating back to Oklahoma. So I think that's cool. He mentioned that Joe Mixon has reached out to him. So I really like the way Brown carries himself, and he certainly looks the part. As far as other offensive players, Andre Yosivas, I thought he looked good. Now he should look good on air, right? But look good and is one of those crazy athletes. Isn't as physically imposing as some of these other guys that we talked about, but he's not going to be. He's a receiver. Charlie Jones isn't either. But didn't look lost out there or anything like that. And the reason I preface it and say it that way is because a lot of people look at it and say, oh, well, you know, the Princeton kid, he's got a lot of development to do. And I'm sure he does, but it's not like he looked out of place during workouts on Friday.
Yeah, it's more football refinement for him, where he was able to get by on his physical gifts at Princeton, right? Where it's Ivy League. It's not the highest level of competition in college football, but he is an Olympic level athlete. And so was able to get by on those traits. Was really impressed as well with Brad Robbins' locker room, talking about process over results, talking about all the different sports that he's played, which, you know, you hear about multi-sport athletes at quarterback a lot more than punter, but baseball, golf, all these different sports that Brad Robbins played, and the way that he's talking about incorporating those lessons into punting, the way that he's talking about his early back and forth with Darren Simmons about, you know, some of the small technique changes or mental tools that he wants to use in terms of the way he approaches punting, came away pretty impressed with the way Brad Robbins talked about his craft at his locker. And that's encouraging for a guy that I think has a real leg up in that punter competition.
Yeah, the way he analyzes it. And we've talked about this, but now this is our first-hand account from him talking about dealing with weather and using it to his advantage, which I thought was pretty interesting. And in how he drops the ball and in relating it to golf at one point, which Darren Simmons has mentioned and used like 82,000 golf references when describing punters and kickers and holding and all of those things and mentality and mindset. So I think he might be the perfect fit with Darren Simmons because they both seem to view the craft the same way. And he's a young guy, obviously Ohio guy from Columbus, made his way up to Michigan and comes to Cincinnati with a really cool mustache. I think he's got a fun personality, and we'll see if he can be the next number 10 punter. He's got Kevin Huber's number. I just spoiled that, I guess, but to be great, we'll see.
We'll talk about those numbers. Love how he was nerding out about punting. Anybody that watches this show knows that I love the nerdy stuff. And so listening to Brad Robbins get nerdy about punting, talk about how he used to be a closer when he played baseball and, the high leverage there, used to that pressure and how that's going to translate to punting as well. Just a lot of really cool tidbits to take away from the Brad Robbins locker room huddle. I thought that was a pretty interesting set. And everybody knows that, where I am on specialists, but I'm excited about Brad Robbins. Let's talk about some of these numbers, James. We have the full list of the Bengals draft picks assigned numbers or selected numbers. So we'll get into those numbers and some of these undrafted guys that were in attendance on Friday coming up next.
Let's dive into the numbers. And the one we knew outside of the one I just spoiled with Brad Robbins is number 10 is Myles Murphy, number 99. Knew that one, signed, sealed, delivered. Of these, I think some stand out the most more than others. So I'll just give you the ones that stand out. Charlie Jones, I think we kind of knew he was going to go with number 15. Certainly the one, he played with at Purdue, but interesting because I think anytime someone sees that number, they still think of the late Chris Henry. So interesting one there. DJ Turner, Juan Drago Turner, DJ Turner II. There's 4 different names we could give him. Wearing Eli Apple's number 20. Could mean, and likely does mean, that Eli Apple doesn't play in Cincinnati this season. And then Chase Brown, number 30. I think that's an interesting one because it goes from Jesse Bates to a running back and kind of switches roles there. But I think that's a pretty good number for a running back. So those are a couple that stood out.
Yeah, I mean, no bad numbers there. 99 for Myles Murphy. Got the same forward and back nature to it. Really big number. Like that number. DJ Turner 20, great corner number. 27 for Battle, great safety number. Last player to wear 15, by the way, as Charlie Jones is. Damian Willis, 2019. John Rosswart in 2017, 2018. And Mario Alford in 2015. Not worn a ton, though, since Chris Henry had it from 2005 to 2009. So, gonna knock the dust off of that one. It's the first time it's going to be worn since 2019, and Damian Willis. Good receiver number though. I like the numbers in the tens and the teens for wide receivers. Chase Brown getting a nice round 30. That's what he wore in college, I believe, isn't it? Or was it 3? Do I have that wrong?
No, I believe it was 30.
Trying to double check on images. He wore number 2 in college.
Oh, there you go. All right.
My bad. Big change. Can't wear number 2 in the pros, I don't think, at running back.
Yeah, well, either way, that's that one's taken. His brother was 30 at Sidney Brown was 30 at Illinois.
That's what I was thinking of.
So that's interesting. That
Andre.
Yeah. Anyways, Brown can't because of Money Mac, Evan McPherson, who ran the half marathon, by the way. Half the Flying Pig. Congrats to him. Congrats on his wife who ran the full. You guys picked a heck of a marathon to run because, well, it poured on you. Either way, congrats to both of you for finishing. Anyway, you mentioned Andre Yosivash. What do you think about that number, 80?
80, I think. So people don't love the wide receiver numbers in the 80s anymore because they don't have to wear numbers in the 80s anymore, right? People seem to prefer the lower – like 1 is a great wide receiver number that Jamar Chase wears. 5, great wide receiver number that T wears. But
I think 3 would be great too.
Yeah, sure. But 80 is a good number, man. Some of the best receivers to ever play the game were 80. There's great history on the number. On number
Isaac Bruce.
Jerry Rice. Wait.
Who?
Is he 85?
No.
He was 80,
Jerry Rice
right?
was 80. Yeah. Jerry Rice was 80. Yeah,
T.O. was 85.
Chris Collinsworth. T.O. was 81.
He was 81?
Yeah.
Just outing.
Chad Johnson was 85. That's the only 85 you need to know about is Chad Johnson and Isaac Curtis.
Just outing myself for not knowing my number history.
That said, who have we not mentioned here? Jordan Battle. Everyone had him going with number 0. And I guess that would be the letdown. No one picked 0.
Yeah.
But Jordan Battle goes with 27. DJ Ivy, 38. And I think that's all of them. I think we mentioned everybody else. So overall, big fan of the numbers. Wish there was a number 0. Maybe there'll be a skill guy in next year's draft that can wear 0, because I think that's a fun number. Like if Brown wore 0, that'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So dynamic offensive player wore 0, that'd be. But I could also see it being on a safety, a hard-hitting safety. Jordan Battle, number 0. Like,
yeah.
So it fits a lot of different guys. So someone will.
DJ Ivy getting 38. Not my favorite number for a corner. If I was to be critical of something besides nobody getting 0, 38, not my favorite cornerback number. 30s in general for corners. There's nothing too aesthetically pleasing about 38.
Yeah, I think of wasn't LaShawn Sims 38?
He was.
That's tough. That's a tough number. I'm not gonna lie, because that was a dark time.
Let's see if there's any other notable 38s here real quick in the Bengals history. There aren't really. LaShawn Sims is probably the most notable 38 in Bengals history.
The most notable?
Yeah.
It's not good.
I mean, Javaris Davis wore it in 2022.
Who?
Right?
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
1999 was the last time before LaShawn Sims. The 38 was worn in Cincinnati, according to Pro Football References database by a guy named Michael Basnight. You remember him in 1999? I don't.
Spell it.
Basnight.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't recall. He actually played in 13 games.
Yeah.
Had 62 carries for the 1999 Cincinnati Bengals.
So here we go. Just because why not? Story time. John Clayton, the old sports reporter for ESPN?
Yep.
An article from July 25th of that season. Basnight taking on big foes this season. It's in Georgetown, Kentucky, when the Bengals still had their training camp in Georgetown. And Michael Basnight hopes to be there to fill the gap if Corey Dillon doesn't report to camp. So I guess Corey Dillon was in the middle of a potential holdout as a rookie, and he went on to be great as a rookie. But yeah, that was part of it. Or was this later? Let me check.
The rest of these numbers, though, while you're checking, have at least some players in Bengals history that have been pretty good or productive players. So no bad numbers here for the top 6 rounds of Bengals rookies, at least.
Yeah. So this was when Corey Dillon might have been frustrated with either contract talks or whatever. But yeah, because Akili Smith was on the team, so that was not Dillon's rookie year by any stretch. So Looks like it was 99.
There you go. Let's hit some of these college free agents real quick before we get out of here. Anybody noteworthy that you want to call out who was there on Friday?
Yeah, it was 99. That was the only year he played for them. Anyways, sorry, I'm going down this rabbit hole, and I want to make sure I finish it the right way. College free agents, I would say this. Keep an eye on Shedrick Jackson, kid out of Auburn, Bo Jackson's nephew, but more importantly, runs a 4.27. Looked fast to me. Was wearing the number 12, which the last guy we saw wear that was Puka Williams. Certainly ahead of where Puka was as an undrafted free agent. So we'll see there. And then the other guy, Jake, that kind of stood out a little bit, at least size-wise, and was moving pretty well. And I wasn't paying a ton of attention to the linebackers for obvious reasons. They didn't draft a linebacker, is Shaka Hayward out of Duke. So we'll see there. But those are two guys that stood out. And then one more note, Christian Trahan out of Houston, the tight end, was wearing 85, which is a bit unique. Since we're talking about jersey numbers, bit unique. Used to seeing T. Higgins wearing number 85. Obviously, he's 5 now, but that was another note that I thought was kind of interesting.
Local kid, Mac Hippenhammer, making any waves? I mean, what a name. Miami, wide receiver, wearing number 19 out there. You notice him?
I noticed him, sure. Yeah, but the thing is with receivers, as long as you're running decent routes on air and you're catching the ball, you look pretty good. So yeah, I think he was fine. Didn't stand out in a bad way, which is all you could say.
All right. Well, rookie minicamp Now behind us, these rookies will get together with the Bengals veterans for the first time, perhaps when you're listening to this episode of Locked On Bengals on Monday. Depends on when you listen. Maybe you're listening on Sunday night. Maybe you're behind, you're catching up. But the overall vibe from rookie minicamp for me, James, one of the big takeaways, especially with guys like Jordan Battle, talking about going from Alabama, coming to a winning organization, competing for Super Bowls, kind of goes hand in hand with our last episode. We were talking about the schedule release and kind of my attitude for this team this year, which is they are Super Bowl contenders. And despite the history of the 90s and of things going wrong in the Andy Dalton era and, Carson Palmer never quite getting the Bengals over the hump and all these things, I think expectations should be high this year for this team. That's how players are coming into this locker room, describing it as still a special place. There are great mentors present for them. Great culture now exists underneath Zach Taylor and his coaching staff. And that's an exciting way to set the tone for the 2023 season.
No doubt. No doubt about it. They just need to get their bubble gum in order and get to work. No, I think they added some good dudes. So we'll see who sticks. We'll see if any of these undrafted stick. And off-season workouts. The vets are going to meet these rookies this week.
No bubblegum allowed in the indoor practice facility is what I've learned today, James. Until next time on the Locked On Bengals podcast, thanks for listening. Hoo day, and have a good one.